Hey, Tom Cassidy here. This is Reasonable Eating and why it's the best diet for long-term weight loss. It's because it uses the concept of marginal gains, and I'm going to talk through what that is at the moment. Marginal gains is basically the idea that you can get good at something by breaking that something down into lots of small components and then getting good at each one of these components. And it's, for example, it's much easier to get, say, 1% better at 100 things than 100% better at one thing. It's kind of tricky. This is the concept, and I will I'll go into how they'll actually work now. And while I'm loading that up, I suppose where I came across this was in the British cycling team, because what happened is the British cycling team, Olympic British cycling team, was here we go. First of all. Okay, I'll just pull it up here. Apologies for that. Lovely. Okay, so now I do a screen share, and I should be able to show this on a screen share. Yeah, marginal gains, lovely. I love it when you see how well I've organized this. Okay, so you should be able to see this. It's like the concept of marginal gains, which, as I was saying, came from my exposure to it, at least, came from the British Olympic cycling team. Now, is it worthy of attention? Well, it's worthy of attention if you think that the British Olympic cycling team could have an argument for saying that they're the greatest team on earth, perhaps ever, because their gold medal tally in the last two Olympic Games in 2008 2012 was not only higher than any other individual country, it was higher than the medal haul from all other countries in the world combined. So they actually made 14 gold medals out of a total available of 20 gold medals. So the rest of the world in those two Olympics together combined only got 6 gold medals. Right. That's pretty dominant, and basically the concept was marginal gains. Dave Brailsford, the chief architect of the team's rise to supremacy, put it all down to the marginal gains approach. Applied to cycling, the idea is simply that you break down the task of getting your bike to go fast into many small pieces, and you focus on improving each one of these by a small percentage. These gains are all marginal in themselves, but they multiply together to create a compounding overall improvement. So what Brailsford did was find a whole bunch of things that might make a difference and mess around with them and see if they did. And he was obviously left with some that did, and he did very, very well. There's a great story about one of them was training the team to wash their hands properly. And that sounds ridiculous, but the idea was that if you wash your hands properly and make sure there's, no bits of food or germs or anything like that, because you're a peak performance athlete, when you're actually in training, you're pushing your body right to the limit. So you do get sick, probably a lot more easily than people who aren't training, because your body is at its limits all the time. So they found that if they washed their hands properly, doing a proper surgeon's wash, a surgical wash, they were ill less often, so they had their training disrupted less often. And if they had their training disrupted less often, guess what? They're more effective as a team. Anyway, that's the concept. Does it seem reasonable? This idea of reasonable eating is good. Obviously, if you've got a long-term strategy for weight loss, it's going to be really important to not try and do the whole thing in one go. Not worry about how much weight you're losing in the first 3 months or any of that stuff. It makes much more sense to focus on the things together that go towards a sensible way to eat, which would be to chew your food, to not eat too fast, to eat real food, all those sorts of things, and then just try and get a little bit better at each one of these, and together it'll make a tremendous difference to your life. So that's it. That's enough from me. It's Tom Cassidy. I set up the Reasonable Eating program, and you're very welcome to have a look at it and follow. If there's any links, follow them. If not, just search for Reasonable Eating. Okay. And that's enough from me.